is up, everyone? Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today we'll be reacting to everything you need to know about the 2025 NASCAR season. Now, this video was requested by one of my Patreon members. I remember doing like everything you need to know about the 2024 NASCAR season. And I can't believe we're already onto the 2025 NASCAR season. Because I swear, I mean, I'm filming this on the 26th of January right now. I think NASCAR starts back on the 2nd of February. Please correct me if I'm wrong. I think that's when NASCAR starts. But I had a look at like the times of the first few races because I'm obviously going to be streaming IndyCar, NASCAR and F1 over on Twitch all through the season. But with the really late NASCAR races, I can't do those because I have work the next day. Yeah, I just can't. But I think the first race is like really late. So I don't know if I'll be doing that one. But I have said that if I'm like streaming, if I miss a stream for NASCAR anyway, because it's a late race, I'll react to the highlights the next day. But like for F1, for example, if I miss a stream, it's because I'm either doing something or I haven't managed to get the setup working. But I would have seen the race anyway because I start twitching if I've missed like an F1 race. I can't miss any of them. But if I miss like an IndyCar race or a NASCAR race, it's usually because it's on really late. So I will be doing the highlights the next day. But anyway, that was just random bit of waffle there. But my whole point of that is I think it comes back on the 2nd. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it does. But everything I need to know about the 2025 NASCAR season, I feel like this video is going to be good for me because I said to you guys last season was my first full season of NASCAR. So I had just got into the sport. So I was trying to learn what was going on, who was in it, how the rules work and everything. So like the off-track side of NASCAR, like teams, teammates, who's moving where, no clue. So I'm hoping that this video is going to give me a bit of an insight into that. If anybody has moved teams, if anyone's going to be driving under a new number then because they've moved teams. So yeah, I'm just gonna shut up, stop waffling, and we'll get straight into it.
2025 NASCAR season is right around the corner, and with that, there are plenty of things that have changed that I think everyone needs to know heading into the year. So let's look
Good. Please fill me in.
Let's start with some major driver changes, especially in the Cup and Xfinity series.
Right.
In the Cup series, Stewart-Haas Racing is no more, meaning that their drivers
I did hear that.
to abandon ship and go to other teams. Noah Gragson is in the newly formed number 4 team for Front Row Motorsports, and he's probably going to be somebody who is going to be one of the young drivers to lead ahead in that team. Teammates with Todd Gilliland in the 34 and Zane Smith in the 38, this team is set up for long-term success. Chase Briscoe has jumped aboard the number 19 for Joe Gibbs Racing, replacing Martin Truex Jr., who retired this year.
Oh,
this is
yeah.
probably the biggest step up of the entire free agency process last year. Now, looking at others that were racing for Stewart-Haas Racing, you got to look at Cole Custer, who raced in the Xfinity Series and now will be part of the Haas factory team in the number 41 in the Cup Series again. Make no mistakes, this is not the same team as Stewart-Haas Racing, just some of the similar pieces to Stewart-Haas Racing.
I was going to say they sound the same.
And also, Ryan
they're both by Haas.
will jump aboard the newly formed number 60 Ford for RFK Racing, the first expansion for RFK Racing in a very long time. Now, for Spire, Justin Haley will stay aboard in the number 7 machine, and he replaced Corey LaJoie late in the season, LaJoie who currently does not hold a ride. And a teammate of his, a former front row driver, is Michael McDowell. McDowell comes over to be teammates with Haley as well as Carson Hocevar and try to be the veteran force and be able to try and kind of guide the team into the future.
I'm trying so hard to collect all this information. My brain is going into overdrive right now.
It's been left open by Stewart-Haas. This will be taken over by Ty Dillon, which I don't think many of us should be too surprised with. After all, colleague has shared a lot with RCR over the years. And AJ Allmendinger will now be a full-time Cup driver in the 16 this year, not in the Xfinity series. Now, when you look at some of the other teams that have made some moves, Stenhouse stays in the number 47, but it is now Hayek, as they have not had the same ownership group as years past, as well as Josh Berry, a former Stewart-Haas driver, who will be in the number 21 car for the Wood brothers as the de facto fourth Penske car. Harrison Burton just could not hold on when it came to this ride. He really was not ready, maybe, for it, and it showed by his demotion. But Berry, who showed some promise last year, will be in the car and maybe get it back to a fringe playoff contender. Now, when you look through some of the rest of the newer ones that are in there, Riley Herbst will be in the number 35 Monster Energy Toyota for 2311. The third charter for Michael Jordan's team. Herbst definitely is up there and questionable, but he will be probably the one with the most to prove this year. And Cody Ware will be in the Cup Series in the 51. His father puts him again up there. He actually had 5 finishes of 21st or better last year in his 9 Cup starts, so it wasn't terrible. But for a team that seemed to be on the up and up, this does seem like a demotion. And then the last big one in Cup is Shane Van Gisbergen, who jumps up as the third Trackhouse driver in the number 88 Chevrolet. The 88 returns to the NASCAR Cup Series. Now,
this is like so confusing for me. The way I'm trying to take in all this information, but like I said at the beginning, last season I was just trying to learn like the rules and how NASCAR works and everything. Like halfway through the season, I got to grips with like who the drivers were, what number they were racing with, but like team names and who's teammates with who, no clue. Like the only teams that I really knew were like Team Trackhouse, because Chastain races for them. Hendricks, because Larson races for them. And I knew about like Michael Jordan's team, like the 2311. Other than that, I don't know, like, and I knew about like Stewart-Haas racing and that it was closing down because like a lot of the times if something major was happening in NASCAR during the Twitch streams, you guys would come in and be like, oh, Susie, have you seen this? And I'd be like, no, but that's great to know. Other than that, I didn't know like any other team names. So watching that, trying to learn like where everybody is going, so confusing. Especially like coming from F1 as well, where like once a driver picks their number, they race under that number in every single team. That's like their number until they retire from F1. So trying to then learn like team names and which team owns which number and how drivers will be moving and racing under different numbers is so confusing to me. But I'm trying. That's just the point. I'm trying.
Big one. While Trucks has some like Tony Breidinger in the 5 as well as Daniel Hemrick in the 19, it doesn't have too many just yet, as those tend to happen right around Daytona a lot of the times if there are big changes. But Xfinity is interesting. Haas will now have Sheldon Creed in the 00, and Sam Mayer jumps over from JR Motorsports.
I don't watch Xfinity either, so
JR Motorsports
this
will
is
have
just
a
like
new young crop of drivers.
Brain rot to me.
The one of Carson Kvapil, who has shown a lot of promise and nearly won at Dover last year, as well as Connor Zilic in the 88, a young phenom
I know who that is.
By many accounts seems
I did a video
on
him.
Kyle Larson. Also, while the 8 stays the same with Sammy Smith, the font goes to the classic number 8 Dale Jr. font. Call League will have Daniel Dye jumping up into the 10 car. So there is a little bit of hope that his career can try to ascend with the team itself. And Christian Eckes jumps to the number 16 Chevrolet. Okay. And Eckes ran exceptionally well in the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series. So there is hope that he might be that young force for them as well. The previously mentioned Harrison Burton will replace Haley Deegan at AM Racing. Burton is just trying to get back on his feet, honestly. And if he is able to outperform Deegan at least, that will probably be a step in the right direction for both team and driver. Joe Gibbs Racing has their all-star car with the 20 more than likely. Eric Almirola probably will fill out a lot of those.
I know about Joe Gibbs
Sawallick
Racing as well.
Up into the number 18 Toyota, as well as Brandon Jones returning to the number 19 after his stint that was unsuccessful with JR Motorsports.
And Team Penske.
And Nick Sanchez jumps up with Big Machine in the
Just trying to remember.
Replacing the now retired Parker Kligerman, as well as 2 others. Another Joe Gibbs Racing guy in Taylor Gray. This is another one that's going to raise a lot of eyebrows and questions, so he does have a lot to prove. And the newly formed Viking team, Matt DiBenedetto gets that in the number 99. Drivers aren't the only ones moving around. The schedule has also moved around a bit well. And there's been a lot of movement when it comes to dates, as well as at least a couple new tracks when you combine the top 3 series.
Okay.
When it comes to new tracks in the NASCAR Cup Series, the big one to look at is Mexico, who is going to be
you guys told me about that.
Of the Father's Day race for Cup and Xfinity Series racing. This is going to be a really big one, as international racing is something that NASCAR has struggled to keep as a mainstay long term, especially in the Cup Series. So this will be a very, very big race, as well as the Clash at Bowman Gray, which is sort of a return to the grassroots when it comes to this race, and it keeps it at least closer to home for a lot of the people in the industry right before Daytona. Now, as for date changes, there are a lot of really big ones. Now, early in the season, COTA will be moved up with now a doubleheader as they drop the truck race to the third race of the Cup season. Vegas and Miami will also be later on with their triple headers, as the 5th race for Vegas, 6th for Miami. Darlington has been moved off Mother's Day, and now will only have the Xfinity Series as a companion as the 8th race of the year in April. The Mother's Day race will be the normal spring Kansas weekend. Nashville has been moved earlier on in the season as a triple header right after the Coke 600, and Michigan has been moved between Nashville and Mexico. Pocono also gets moved right after the Mexico race into June, and then to close out June, as well as start the TNT side of the coverage, will be a doubleheader with Atlanta being the first Saturday night race of the season. Now, with all these summer
I struggle with those Saturday night races.
Around, Sonoma and Dover will be in the middle of July, and Iowa now is in August. Watkins Glen now has a triple header and is booted back to where it was on the schedule pre-2024. And with the date changes and everything else like that, Daytona will again be the regular season finale with their weekend, and the Southern 500 opens the NASCAR Cup Series playoffs, this time with the trucks as their companion series. Gateway moves to the race right after that, as the Xfinity Series will replace the trucks there, and New Hampshire will be raced as race 30, and in the NASCAR playoffs as well, the Truck Series joins them. And then you have the Talladega weekend moved to the third to last weekend of the NASCAR season. A controversial move, but one that's probably been spearheaded by TV, as NASCAR wants to keep that on NBC, and as we'll talk about later, there are much less races on NBC and Big Fox. As for the lower series, there are some new weekends and dates to look at. And with Xfinity, there's 3 big ones. Rockingham will be
Again, I don't watch Xfinity or Truck Series, so
the Xfinity Series headlines the lone off weekend for the NASCAR Cup Series. Portland will move to the Darlington weekend of the Southern 500, so Xfinity will be in Portland while the other 2 series are in South Carolina. And of course, they jump on with Gateway as a new track this season. The trucks have a bit more flair to them. The Rockingham weekend for them will be on Friday, right before this Saturday Xfinity race. And now Lime Rock is a new track, and it'll be raced earlier in the day than the Saturday night Atlanta Cup race in the summer. The trucks will accompany also the Cup Series to New Hampshire, and then they will be on the Friday of the Roval weekend. Seems like Marcus Smith and NASCAR are doing what they can to try and keep this.
I love that track.
And making
the Charlotte Roval
header is the next.
It's like one of my favorites.
Now, before we go too much further, I will mention there are going to probably be some little.
Is that controversial?
Changes,
I don't know.
But it's rumored that the big ones could be coming in 2026. This will be something to follow throughout the season, as well. Obviously, the championship is a big deal, but also with that, it'll be interesting to see what reactions the drivers and fans alike have. TV is another change that fans are going to have to get used to.
Yeah, you guys were trying to tell me about the TV changes.
The first 12 points races,
I couldn't catch
as well
on.
as the Clash and All-Star race. 5 races, the Clash, Daytona, Atlanta, COTA, and Dega will be on Big Fox. Everything else on FS1. They also will be getting IndyCar coverage this year. Every IndyCar race is on Big Fox, and many of those do also go head-to-head with NASCAR races. After the Fox coverage, starting with the 600, you have the 5 races on Amazon Prime, and after that is 5 races on TNT, which will make up the in-season tournament, a tournament that is not going towards the championship battle, but is more or less for bragging rights. NBC then gets the last 14 races, 4 of these being on the big NBC network: Daytona, Talladega, Martinsville, and the finale at Phoenix, and the rest will be on the USA network. Now, the booth stays the same for Fox: Joy, Harvick, and Boyer. But when it comes to Prime and TNT, they will share production and have Adam Alexander leading the way with Steve Letarte and the return of Dale Earnhardt Jr. to the booth.
Oh, wow.
And NBC at the moment is for sure having Lee Diffie as well as Jeff Burton, and we'll see if they add a third. Xfinity will have it all on the CW, produced by NASCAR, so you know where to look for every Xfinity race. And the trucks will all be on Fox Sports. FS1 has almost every race, except for 3. Homestead, Michigan, and Lime Rock will all be on Big Fox as well, meaning the Truck Series only has 1 less points-paying race on Big Fox than the NASCAR Cup Series. Make of that what you will. And an overarching story to keep an eye on is the charter lawsuit between 23XI and Front Row with NASCAR.
Oh, yeah, you guys were telling me about that as well.
Through 2025. It's going to pop up all season with different proceedings and different things coming out, but I don't think anything coming out is going to get too spicy, in my opinion. I think it hurts both sides if too much of the business practices, good and bad, get out. And if there's too much ugly, I don't think that anyone really wins with that. And it is estimated to be done well before the start of the 2026 NASCAR season. There are also changes to practice and qualifying for this year. The Daytona 500 has added a Wednesday practice to Speed Week right before qualifying to probably try and prevent little things that are happening every single year with qualifying with no practice.
I never watched practice or qualifying last year, so maybe I'll try and
5-minute group
watch quali.
Single round qualifying at all but super speedways, which will stay the same as 2024, and speed alone will be what determines the starting order, not qualifying by the inside or outside of a row, which was really stupid. It'll also be single lap qualifying at all tracks except short tracks that get 2. 50-minute practices will return for some races. Cup has it for the Clash, Daytona, COTA, the All-Star Race, Mexico, Indianapolis, and the finale. The Xfinity Series gets it for Daytona, COTA, Rockingham, Mexico, Indianapolis, as well as Gateway in the finale. And then the Truck Series gets it for Daytona, Rockingham, Michigan, Lime Rock, New Hampshire, the Roval, and the finale as well. There are also some smaller stories that will come up during the year or maybe overarch the year. For instance, Kyle Busch enters the year near 50-race losing streak.
Oh, no.
Of his career.
It's not a good statistic to have.
On the other hand, is going to be doing the Indy 500, Coke
600 double. I really hope that he actually
as long as weather and
gets to do the double.
Don't get in the way of it. It will be one of the most hyped up weekends in American motorsports all year, if not the most. We talked about earlier the in-season tournament, and there will also be some shuffles when it comes to Joe Gibbs Racing. Crew chiefs and other people inside the company are moving around, so if somebody struggles or exceeds their expectations early on or later in the year, that could be why. Also, schedule-wise, there should be some question marks up there. Will Auto Club have its short track ever made, or is it just going to be fully demolished? And is this the last year of the Chicago Street Course? A really successful event that garnered a lot of hype, but had the worst luck when it comes to weather, I think, ever. Also, remember, this fall there will be a new NASCAR game coming out as well.
Will there?
Whew. Okay, I think we got it all covered.
Well, that was a lot of information for a person who's only getting into their second season in NASCAR. But it did give me what I wanted. I said at the beginning of the video, like, I don't know who's moving where, teams, dates for, like, tracks in the calendar, blah, blah, blah. So it gave me a lot of information. It gave some information for Xfinity and Truck Series. I didn't watch either of those. You guys tried to get me to watch them last season, but I just couldn't get into it because I was trying so hard to learn IndyCar and NASCAR at the same time. So I don't know. Maybe I'll try and get into one of them this year. We'll see. Please don't hold me to that. But yeah, I don't know where 2025 is going to go for NASCAR. I'm excited to see where it is going to go after my first full season. I feel like this season I can just like sit and enjoy it now, because last season each race I was trying to learn what was going on. So this season will be a bit more chill for me. I'm excited to see Larson attempt the double again. Hopefully he'll actually get to do the double this year and the weather won't get in the way. That will be fun, because I think the first like Twitch stream I did was the Triple Crown weekend in May, with like the Monaco Grand Prix, the Coke 600 and the Indy 500. And they were like so fun to do. It was like so cool to watch. Like my first Indy race was the Indy 500. The first NASCAR race was Coke 600. So I'm excited to see Larson attempt those two. What else is happening? I want to get into like actually learning more about like the teams and teammates, and because you guys were trying to tell me about it in Twitch streams and I just had no idea what was going on. So I kind of want to try and keep up with like the news going on in NASCAR this season. But we'll see. But that video was good anyway. It gave me lots of information. So thank you to my Patreon members for requesting this video. With that being said, if you have any other videos that you'd like me to react to, drop them in the comments. I'm working my way through everybody's suggestions at the moment. If you did want to check out any of my other socials or become a Patreon member and get early access to videos like this or top priority review suggestions, then you can do all of that down below. But I hope you enjoyed today's reaction, and I will catch you next time for the next one. Bye!